Okay, thank you so much for this wonderful session. And yeah, I will be speaking on coexisting in a queer space from my personal reflection. And this is not just coming from a personal reflection; it's also coming from a critical perspective. And in my journey of coexisting in a queer space, uh, not as a queer person, but also as a non queer ally. And when we talk about allyship, it connotes um, showing support, it also connotes using inclusive language, it also connotes standing against discrimination and also um, in support or in solidarity. So, but the question here now is what happens when allyship goes beyond advocacy, when you live, work, and learn in queer spaces every day? And this is where my reflection comes in that in between space of belonging but not fully belonging, and what it means to practicalize it and not just being an ally in theory, but also an ally in real life situation. And now talking about the aspect of space, and you find yourself as an ally working or learning in a queer space, and it brings about this question of um, how will I be perceived? Will I be perceived as someone that is intruding in a space where I am not fully okay? Okay, okay. So am I intruding in a space where I am not fully accepted or I am not fully received? And it also makes me aware that I was entering a space that wasn't just mine alone, but it is a space that is built through pain, through protest, and also through survival. So I also had this internal conflict, like when I entered a queer space, of the question of will I be perceived like someone that is coming to step on someone's toes or coming to show off myself or coming to make myself presence. And but to myself, I was like, no, it doesn't mean like I am coming there to show off or coming there to brag or anything like that, but rather I am coming me here from the perspective of someone curious and someone also willing to learn and also interact from a different perspective. But who like when I came in with my own identity, I am coming in like someone that, yes, I know that I am not, um, um, in quotes, I am not a queer, but I identify myself as a non-queer ally. But in this situation, it also brings about the question of how do I coexist? Like, how do I coexist in this kind of space without bringing or attracting unnecessary attention to myself? Because, yeah, you can imagine when you find yourself in a space where everybody is not like I'm trying to say, okay, everybody is white. Okay, everybody is wearing a white color shirt, and you came in and wearing a black color shirt automatically and by default you're already attracting attention to yourself. But also I want to look at it from the perspective of, yes, I am wearing a black shirt in the midst of people wearing a white shirt, but my wearing a black shirt is like because I want to understand why these people are wearing these white shirts, and how can I even though I keep on wearing my black shirts, how can I integrate into the system, and how can I be seen not as an outsider but as someone who came in to understand and also to learn and also to listen from another perspective, and also without assuming allyship or by being an ally is like being acceptance. So I'm talking about ally does not in theory mean like I am going to be fully accepted, you understand? But to me I see.
Lucy, please ask if you want us to change slide for you.
Okay, thank you so much. Yeah. um mm, sure, but I made some changes. I didn't know that it wasn't integrated. Yeah, but you can just leave it at the first page. Yeah, at the first slide. Yeah. So because this is like a personal reflection. So here, allyship in theory is very, very easy to practice. It is very easy to amplify, and it is also easy to advocate. But in practice, it is somehow difficult because sometimes allies are welcomed with open arms, and while sometimes they are met with disquiet resistance, a hesitation of an unspoken, can we trust you? Or can we accept, can we trust you enough to have you be a part of this space? So, and this is coming from the queer space and from the queer community. But honestly, I also think it is fair if they ask this kind of question, because I understand that this queer space is something that is being created and has been greatly invested in from different perspective. And asking such a question is not a problem, and I see it not as yeah, as someone that is being curious, like just as I am curious to be an ally or to identify with the queer space, they are also curious to identify or to understand the perspective or my intention of joining or trying to identify with the space. And also, so when a non-queer person walks in saying I am an ally, it's also a valid indication. Okay, it's also a valid indication to ask about, are you here to help us? Else, or also to also ask, are you here to help yourself? So here now we now talk about the going back to my reflection as someone that has been in a queer space, both in non in communal and in non-communal spaces. I now want to kind of turn the turn it like upside down, this question of are you here for us, and now ask this question to the queer community, like how open are you, or how open is the queer community in terms of identifying or also creating a genuine space to non-queer allies without this form of suspicion of yeah, this non-queer person is coming in to take advantage, or this non-queer person is coming to show off, or this non-queer person is coming to um um coming to better themselves when they have a personal interest. So, and these are the moments when protection kind of turns into gatekeeping, because yes, I understand that you are trying to protect yourself and also protect your space, but there should be a kind of a synergy, a space where both interests come together. And I understand that our world is a kind of a world of binaries where you have us or them, or you have, are you in or you outside, and it is quite understandable. But from my perspective, I think that rather than looking at it from this binary space, we should be looking at it that our world is a place that is filled with um, okay, okay. Our world is a place that is filled with different aspects of belonging, where we don't have to necessarily consider whether you are in or whether you are out. Rather, we see ourselves as human beings first, because I always when I want to identify, first consider that yes, I am a human, and before talking about whether my preference or my sexual preference. And this is where we talk about the allyship. So I believe that allyship is not just about announcing or um, advocating for being a part of a community, or advocating to be a queer ally, member of a queer community, but it's also about practicalizing it, coming in a space where we first of all see ourselves as human beings before considering our agenda. So these are my perspective in terms of reflecting and coexisting in a queer space. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Lucy, for that wonderful presentation. I actually do have a question, because I think that you're presenting from Nigeria, and I think that my question is, as a non-LGBT people, and that you're quite vocal about your allyship. Oh, have I lost you?
No, I'm here. I'm
Oh,
here.
how challenging has it been for you, considering the status quo in Nigeria? How challenging has it been for you to be open about your support for the LGBT community? And how do you navigate those challenges?
Yeah, just like I in my conclusion, I first of all indicated that before like I identify as myself as someone that advocates for equal rights, and not just equal rights in terms of being a queer or not queer, but also equal rights of both male and female are first of all humans. So if we first of all look at ourselves as humans, I don't think there's any need for us to start talking about, yeah, you are of this gender preference or of this preference. So when I am being posed this question of how do you identify, how do you align with these people, what I usually kind of, it's just like a Nigerian way of saying Nigerians ask questions with questions. Like when you ask a Nigerian a question and then a Nigerian respond with a question like, is it true that Nigerians ask a question with question? And my response would be like, who told you? So the same aspect, the same approach I also adopt here. When you ask me like my intention of identifying with this, and I was like, are you looking at me as a human being, or are you looking at me as a woman, or like, because not trying to kind of be religious here, but first of all, we are all humans before we talk about our gender. So this is the perspective I use. First, we are humans, and because I see you as a human, that is why I would like to interact with you without considering if you are based on your sexual preference. So that is how I usually respond to these kind of questions.
Thank you so much, Lucy. Thank you. And I also asked that question considering the fact that you're a woman who is already in within the Nigerian setting, is already, challenged, and then you're speaking up for a community that is already, so you're, yes, but thank you so much. Really appreciate that.